Hey there, YouTube. So I think we're going to try to repower this tiller today. This is a Clinton engine, and it's a 3.5 horse, and it leaks and whatnot. It does not run. We need a new fuel line, or there's a fuel thing that's broken on the carburetor, so that's, I'm surprised they made that out of plastic. And actually, this is the oil dipstick. Look how clean the oil is. So this was sitting up on the second floor of the barn. I think was it either my grandpa or dad bought this? And this tiller, it has less than 10 hours on it. So I know this thing looks pretty bad because it's been sitting in the barn. But this is as barn fresh and as new as we could get. But what I want to do with this thing is, like I said, repower it with that motor. But then I want to build a 3-point setup on this, have 3-point pins to go on the Suburban, that tractor, or my brother's tractor. And we have some ruts and stuff to fix in the yard, actually quite a few of them from the big tractors and trucks and stuff. So I think I'm going to try to repower this thing first. And actually this gearbox is leaking also, so I'm pretty sure that is the plug for it. So I might put some either grease in there, fill it up with grease, or I might use Lucas heavy duty oil stabilizer, or I might use just gear oil. So that's the plan. And this is the throttle setup. This is the throttle here, and actually I think it actually works. Yeah, look at the stuff working down there. So that's kind of neat. And then this here is to tension the belt, this bar right there. So you squeeze that and that moves that tensioner. And the mud daubers have made a nest in the air intake, so that's kind of funny. But long life, 3.5 or 3.25 horsepower cast iron. So yeah, this is probably still a good motor. It does have compression on it. I guess that's pretty good compression for, you know, remember it's only 3.5 horsepower, but it's not froze up at all either. And my dad said in the time that he did use this tiller was horribly underpowered, so I figured, I had thought about just putting on the, what is that, the 79cc one? Whatever's 3.5 horsepower from Harbor Freight, and that would probably bolt up and it'd be the same thing. But since he said that this was pretty underpowered, I figured we would do the 6.5 horse. So let's get started pulling off this old Clinton motor. So like I said, this motor hasn't ran in at least 20 years that I know of. And this thing, my dad said he had ran it when he was a kid, so that is approaching somewhere around 50 years ago. It does kind of bother me slightly that I'm taking this, this is a complete original tiller as far as I know. You know, the tank is correct, the motor's correct, etc., etc. And I even think this has the original belt on it also. So, I kind of feel a little bit bad about repowering this tiller, but with that carb piece being broken, and I'm sure the points in this motor would need some work, and the carburetor probably needs work also. And plus, it was pretty underpowered, like my dad said, so, I really think that just repowering this thing is the best way to go. So we're just kind of taking off these bolts. There were 4 bolts to hold this motor on, and I will tell you what, this motor was really stuck on there, and just like that it's off. But there were 4, I think they were 5/16 bolts, and then I had to take off the throttle linkage also, and then kind of just pull the belt off the back pulley. But what I sprayed on there was some degreaser. I'm just using Simple Green to clean off all the oil and stuff. And I wanted to try to get this old pulley off of this crankshaft. Those of you that have tried doing this before are probably laughing now, and you are correct. The only way to get this pulley off of here is to really heat it up with either MAP gas or in acetylene torch. And then even then you might not get it off, so that's just kind of the way things go. But I was using a 2-jaw puller, and I was using some heat here. And always be careful when you're doing stuff like this around a gas engine. Unbeknownst to me, there's still a little bit of gas left in this thing, and you'll see it kind of pour out onto the ground here shortly. So it's definitely something to note. Make sure there isn't any gas or anything in whatever you're heating up. This gas is probably 40 years old, so it didn't really have any flammability left to it, or no explosions, so we were kind of safe there. But just so you guys know, drain all the gas and stuff out of whatever you are heating up. So I was able to move the pulley. I was able to move it on the crankshaft with a socket that fit over top of the crankshaft itself, and I was able to slide the pulley down. So I tried using heat, I tried using WD-40, and that did not work. And I also stripped out the puller, so I have to get a new puller also. But it's just one of those things. I was kind of trying to fight a losing battle pulling this pulley off of the crankshaft. Now that old Clinton motor is off of this tiller, we can start putting on the new Predator one from Harbor Freight. And I paid $100 for that motor. I was able to find a coupon for it, so I kind of lucked out there. I just kind of Googled Harbor Freight 6.5 horsepower motor coupon, and it kind of brought up one right onto the internet, and then I was able to show it to the cashier, and she just rung it up for me. So I had to go out and buy a new pulley for this. This is a 2.5-inch pulley, a 3/4 shaft. It was the exact same as the old one. And much to my surprise, this tiller and this motor bolted up together like there was no problem whatsoever. I went into this fully expecting to have to do some serious fabricating and stuff on this to make this motor work with this tiller frame. I even used the original bolts, and they were long enough, so I will tell you what, I really lucked out there. I didn't even have to buy new bolts. However, since I'm probably going to be putting some bed frame in where this motor mounts, because that's about the only place that I can mount those 3-point pins and stuff. I will probably have to buy some longer bolts to do that, and I will make another video on that also. So what I'm doing here is kind of checking the oil in the gearbox of this tiller, and there was not much oil in there. A lot of it had leaked out. So I just used some Lucas. This is like Lucas Leak Stop. And I'm hoping that's going to kind of dry up that gearbox, but it probably won't. I'm not real sure. That Lucas Leak Stop stuff reminds me of the heavy-duty oil stabilizer. And I mean, it has the same coloration and thickness and everything, so I really don't know what the difference is. But anyways, that was my brother. We were trying to get the throttle cable to hook up these motors also have a hookup for a throttle cable, so I'll tell you what, Harbor Freight has some ingenious marketing for doing stuff like this for the people that shop there. You know, a lot of people have older equipment and stuff that shop there. I know we do. There's no shortage of old equipment around here. Generally, the old motors have points problems, ignition problems, carb problems, you can't find parts, etc., etc. And that's why it's great about these new ones. Being able to literally bolt up a brand spanking new motor, and now we can use this tiller or whatever it is again. So I'm just filling this thing up with oil, and hopefully you guys are gonna see that we're gonna fire this thing up, and it should run like a Honda motor. So now I think the next thing to do is finally fire this thing up and watch this tiller turn. Watch these tines turn in the 20 years that I know of, and possibly could be even 50. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to make sure that the fuel is on. And the fuel is on. We are going to choke it, give it a tiny bit of throttle, and make sure the on switch is on, and it is. And I think the next thing to do is to pretty much pull the pull cord and see how this thing fires up. So this is the very first start for this motor, and this is the first time those tines will be turning in 20 to 50 years. So here we go. Actually, I'm going to pull. The tiller wants to drive forward, which I do not have that thing engaged. So I might have to get a longer belt on this thing. Quiet little motor, wow. I'm impressed. So let's see if these tines will turn. And that they are. So there you go. Hope everyone enjoyed the video, and that's how you repower a Springfield tiller from who knows how old. I bet this thing's, my dad says he remembers running it as a kid, so that means this tiller could be 60 years old. So hope everyone enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more, and hopefully we will see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.